Good afternoon. Welcome to the CaptainSim 737. We're starting off in a cold and dark cockpit. No power at all on the aircraft. And this happens to be a 200F variant. Now we have no passengers on board this aircraft. We are flying proverbial rubber duckies over to Nome, and we are starting out at Anchorage. The flight should be about an hour and 15 minutes or so. So what we're going to do is I'm going to switch over. You know, I really prefer to do it this way because, you know, this is a multi-crew aircraft. There's no actual multi-crew here. So I like to imagine that we have a first officer. I am the first officer. And that, you know, we can easily take care of aspects of what he does, and pilot can take care of, captain can take care of aspects of what he does. So, first things first, for our co-pilot, turn off the avionics master switches. The next thing we're going to do, see if we can get some ground power on this aircraft. We will make use of the CaptainSim animation. It's going to open the ground power supply cover. We can turn on external power right there. Confirm that external power is available here. We will not remain in this position. I think what I'd like to do is take advantage of these views and head on over to the overhead. Zoom in just a bit. So what we're going to do before we turn on ground power is we're going to check voltage, frequency. Yeah, it looks like it's within proper order. I'm also going to turn on the BAT, switch to the BAT bus, switch to the BAT. That's powering that bus. That's good. Cap it. Ground power connected. Commence my my flow. Flow in the 737 is by section. So section 1 is section 2, 3, 4, and 5 vertically, up and down. We'll start right here. I like to open these. Confirm my flight control A and B systems are actually on. Standby rudder. I expect a low pressure light. Expected alternate flaps are off, as well as here. Expect that spoiler A and B are on. The yaw damper will be put on. I expect to see that off light, so we don't yet have hydraulic power on the vehicle. I'm going to test my mock trim fail. I'm going to go ahead and confirm that VH-nav compass and gyro are all normal. This is normal. Normal. It's kind of cold out. We'll probably need some heat at some point. Cross feed off. Center pumps off. Wing pumps off. Turn on some galley power. If anybody wants coffee back there, make some coffee. Normal indications should be auto. These should be down. That's what I expect. I should get a rise, so that's likely a bug. I have to get Captain to fix that. Squawk that on the maintenance log. Ground power is available and on. Bus transfer, auto. I expect that. This is expected. We can start the autopilot or the APU now. Start the autopilot. That doesn't make any sense. And it's being cranked right now. Looks like all normal conditions for the autopilot. Let's come up here and monitor the generator. See, it kicks in nicely. Come back and continue monitoring ground power. Equipment cooling normal. This is expected. This is as expected. I like to turn it on to test it and then arm it again. I'll perform a test. My window heat. I'll turn them on. Hold it until I get overheat, which kicks the power off. That's a confidence test right there. Then I could just reset it. Turn these off and make sure that I get the proper indications I'm looking for. This is as normal. We can do a test. Valves are open. These are off. Engine anti-ice as expected. I expect low pressure, and I expect these to be off. I'm going to skip this because current incantation. The test switch really doesn't do anything. This is proper indication. That's what I expect normally on the ground. It's pretty cold in here right now, so we really need to get things started up. So I'm gonna kind of force the warm air to get in here. I expect this. I'm gonna test the wing body overheat. Get it back on, auto, APU, dual bleed. We'll be flying at, what is it, 28,000? Pretty sure 28 is the filed altitude to known today. Landing altitude is like 40. That's correct. 200 below landing on 0 ground. I'm not going to touch this outflow valve switch because I don't need to. This will pretty much include initial preparation here. Alright, so that's a quick initial preparation. Now we can go from here onto the pedestal and start doing our checks in our set. I'm gonna move us, if I can I move this down? That's alright. I guess it won't let us move, but that's all cool. Make sure the flight director is off, altitude hold off. Spin this all the way up. I'm not going to be using the flight director for this flight, primarily because I don't like it. Make sure I'm in man. System B is the only one I can choose. I am not heading select and my heading is off. These are off, this is off, and same condition here. Alright, so we can test our lights right now. Starting with our overhead panel. We're going to need to head to the overhead panel, check the lighting. And at this point in time, I can point out essentially that we can test our LED devices here, LED device lights here. This doesn't yet work. This doesn't yet work. This works. Passenger oxygen looks good. You can also take a look at our flight recorder information, but that doesn't yet work. You can note a small drop here, or rise. That's alright. Now we can test this guy here. Alright. So I'm just checking the lights now. Making sure that all the lights are going to illuminate. Testing for proper condition. Head back to the pedestal. I'll check for lights. Forward instrument panel, as well as our dash. Looking good there. Okay. I'd say that's a successful light test. That's about right. This value, I'm gonna have to pull zero fuel off my phone. Interesting. So we are quite heavy. My philosophy in utilizing any aircraft is, does it meet my prerequisite? Carrying cargo exclusively. If it does, how much? Can I load more fuel and overweight this aircraft and take off and experience that? Yes, I can. Not only with this aircraft, but also with the 707 and 727. It's wonderful. I really enjoy it. In particular, this aircraft right now. It's supposed to be 42,664, but that's close enough. This doesn't yet rotate, so I'm going to click it 3 times. And then once to the right. So 3 to the left, 1 to the right. We'll make sure that I have 30 degrees of flap set as my reference. I'll record the particular indications of the fuel as indicated on the gauges, and then test it. Alright, I'm going to come up to here and actually test the spoiler indications. And while I'm on the subject of spoiler, I'm going to actually reach down, grab it, and move it to where I'm arming it. and then disarm it right there. EPR numbers will figure out from the PDCS. I'm not going to use the PDCS because I don't have a manual for it. And the most I actually do is hit takeoff, enter the temperature, outside air temperature, and it'll give me the EPR numbers I'm looking for. And that's about it. I'll stick them here. I'm hoping at some point that Captain will agree this is a good idea to have in this aircraft, but also completely working as intended. And we'll look at that at some point. But engine indications look normal. I'm expecting low oil pressure lights. This indications are all normal, as expected. And it looks like we have plenty of oil. Also looks like we're about at 0 degrees temperature outside. Let's find out. I'm going to be using active sky, which is really nice. If you guys have not thought about it yet, considered it yet, yeah, we're at -12. Wow, -12. I'm going to check flap indication matches the flap handle, which looks like it does. Normal indications for anti-skid. Let's make sure it's on, and auto brakes off. Altitude for today is going to be 28,000. This is the control for our radar. Throw it into test mode. I'll throw this into TARA for our transponder. Set the range to max. And I'll leave it like it is right now. See if ATC is on. Set this to the AM for the moment. We'll go ahead and clear. Outside air temperature, as I think I did say, is what, -12? Yeah. So -12. 2.26 for each engine. It's the value that's being reported right now. Alright. So the radar has been set. We've discovered what our EPR values are. Increase that brightness for you. Reset our cell cal. Throttles are neutral. Reversers are down. Spoilers and flaps. Come here and take a look at a test for our APU and engine fire. Test our APU. I wish this was a little more integrated. I actually watched what is it, 727-100 or 200 test for fire detection and conditions on this, and it was actually quite nice. Not much else to really do here. Verify that we have rudder trim at 0. Close enough, pointing at 0. That takes care of preliminary indications, except for one thing that is not being shown right now, and that is we're using an INS. Delco Carousel SIVA INS is being used right now. You could theoretically say the location of, let's say, our INS units could be here, CDUs could be here, MCDU could be put, oh, I don't know, somewhere around here. Maybe we could refine real estate Maybe locate the CDUs up here somewhere. I don't know. But for now, the procedure for this is rather easy. Current standby. Desired track. That's a normal indication. Perform a test. We'll rotate to enter our position at 3.0. And what I'm going to do is actually pick that position up right now and set it as our first waypoint. Rotate it here, past the mechanical stop, clear the condition flags because they're unimportant, align it, conduct a fast align, clear the error for the ADAU. Now let's select the right, there it is. That's the one we'll load, and our waypoints are selected and loaded already for us. We don't have more than 7, looks like. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. While that's aligning, I'll go ahead and head over to the first officer's position. From here we can do some checks. I think this is totalizing our outside air temperature, which is fine. We have sufficient pressure in hydraulic brakes. And for B, and A is at precharge, which is our typical indication here. We've got sufficient hydraulic fluid for flight. I would love to be able to system test my GPWS, ground proximity warning system, but I just am not able to do that right now. But it is set to normal. I'm not going to concern myself with these speed bugs because we're going to be flying left seat this time. Conditions look right for here based on what the magnetic compass is telling me. I really like what CaptainSim has done with my attitude directional indicator. You notice we're sitting on the ground, it's not quite level, so it gives you that old time feel of an aircraft that is getting up there. Gyros are starting to lose some precision. I really like that. That's pretty cool. Winds at the field are 020 at 9. And if I pull up my handy dandy trusty dusty airport diagram, looks like, oh, we could take off on runway 33. And that should allow us direct transition on our way. That's 325. So that's a 325 course. I like to set here, and also heading that I can set here to maintain. Altimeter from active sky, let's see, 29 or 906. A little challenging to set that, but should be able to set that. That's about right there. And I noticed that First officer altimeter and captain altimeter are actually different. So it's kind of interesting there. All indications here are normal. Test the radar altimeter. Test looks good. Sure it's set to 200 foot. On our missed approach. I wish I had a way to test these. And the other nostalgia aircraft, particularly the 707 and 727, I can test those. So right now that looks pretty good, and I'm fairly happy with this. So I think maybe we can move over to first officer's seat. I tend to like removing these yokes because it gives me full clarity. I've got a yoke right in front of me, actually a SciTech ProPilot, so I think I'm good there. I'm just checking for normal indications here. I'm using an add-on that'll set these for me automatically and also set my bug for me. Again, indications here seem to match the magnetic indicator, so that's good. This is good. This is good as well. I'm going to set the course to, what is it again? 325. Yeah, 325. And set my head in that direction as well. Altimeter is 2996. Yeah. So I'll try to set that. Normal indications. Perform my test. I'll set it to 200. And then I'll also test here my autopilot indications. I'm not concerned about a test on the other side because we won't be flying that side anyway. So that's pretty much, it as far as what we need to do. Get this aircraft set up. It's already aligned, and as a result, I can move this to nav and start tracking our navigation immediately. And I can also set this so that we're going 1 to 2. So it becomes fairly easy to do the navigation. I won't, well, I could turn it on now. Yeah, I'll turn it on now. So we have INS nav available. And that should do it for there. Next steps are really, I think, for the captain to verify what the first officer would have already done. So yeah, those are on, so I can shut these. That's off, so is this, that's on, as expected. Right here as well. It's normal indications. good opportunity to get ground electrical power disconnected. Monitor the APU gen and do some of the fancy stuff here. Pull the power, pull the external power, and close the door. And another video, I'll probably show a lot of the animations. Really cool, especially for a cargo aircraft. Then I think it's a simple matter of communicating with the ground crew to give us a push. We probably don't need a push, really. Actually, we probably don't need a push. If you're wondering who we're flying for tonight, or today, it's Northern Air Cargo, Alaskan Operations. We've got 5 aircraft that fly all over Alaska. It's very cool. And, alright, anyway, next stages are pushback. Let's get the pack off. Should have sufficient pressure for start. We are doing dual bleed for the moment. And we could probably go ahead and start our engines right now, since we don't need a pushback. So in that case, we'll do next. Get our fuel pumps on. Go ahead and distracted. We'll start the number 1 engine, followed by the number 2. We'll be looking for primary indications of N2 increase 20%, as well as oil pressure per engine. And that's pretty much how we'll go in terms of flow. So why don't we start that? Valve is open. N2 rotation observed on engine number 1, oil pressure increasing. Try and let it run to its maximum crank, and then we'll yeah, time to throw that lever up. Oop, wrong one. And there goes engine 1 starting. Come up here, check the generator. Voltage and frequency look good. I'm going to turn it on, and then I'm going to head over and check TR1, TR2, and TR3. 1 and 3 should be different. I'll set it to 2. 2 and 3 are also different. That's okay. Go ahead and do the same for engine 2. Valve open and N2 rotation observed, oil pressure increasing. Look like it's getting to crank maximum, so we'll throw this up. And we observe engine 2 start, off, generator 2 looks good. Generator 2, stop the APU. Flight. Looks like that's about it. Looks like we have both A and B system pressures are good. Taxi on. Flaps 10 degrees. Here comes the kick in of my gauge. That's going to set my V speeds for me. 10 degrees of flap selected and checked. We're a fairly heavy aircraft, so V1, rotate, V2, clean speed, 250 knots. This will automatically, the gauge will automatically move it to 250 knots. So, really nice feature. Thank you, Paul. I've got this gauge for all CaptainSim nostalgia aircraft, and it's just wonderful. Do some final checks. Minimum brake, please, for an RTO. And it doesn't look like we really need to do much else. Everything on this aircraft's been set and checked. That might be a bug right there. May not be. Alright, so we're looking good. Alright, this aircraft features control of steering, so all I need to do on takeoff is activate just the elevator portion. And as I move the stick, it will automatically guide the trim for me. So all I need to do is this, and it will guide the trim for me, and everything will be fine. Looks like it's giving me 5 on the stab trim. And I could go ahead and perform a test. Full roll of all trim forward and back, just to make sure the system does what I want it to do. Unnecessary. And roll it forward again. And lastly, I'll put my trim at about, what did it say again? 5. Alright. Put it right there at 5. And that is going to be it for the current moment. Ready to taxi. I don't think we have any ATC available. It's too bad because we could record some comms, which is really nice, but nonetheless, here's the startup procedure. Ready for taxi. 737. 200F. Full of lots of cargo. Good stuff. Brakes release. Power up. Brakes check. Brakes good. Left turn. Full left turn. Left differential. 1.4 on the power. Good engines. Full power brakes release. Forward yoke. Looking for 80 knots.
$80 knots.
80 knots. Check.
V1, rotate.
Rotate 10 degrees.
Positive V2 plus 15.
Positive rate 15 degrees. You're up.
Gear is up.
Flap retraction. Alright, so that's the last leg of the route. Interesting. Is it going to get us on? I hope it gets us on. 14,000. Pulling it up. Alright, I think this is going to be my aircraft now. If you hear all that squeaking, that's my my yoke. Pretty bad. 12 miles to the VOR. Looks like there's the field. Let's make it 5,000 now. Miles out. Yep. Leading edge slats out.
Slats extended. Flaps 5.
Spoilers on. Stick it at 2,000. Gear down.
Flaps 10. Gear down. Flaps 15. Flaps 25. Flaps 30. Spoilers deployed. Reverse thrust available. 80 knots.
Thrusters on. 80 knots. Cross check.
60 knots.
Auto brake off. Come on, don't lock me on the runway, buddy. Come on. Oh, come on, don't do this to me. Not again. Don't lock me on the runway. So we will now stop on the runway. Wait for the auto brakes to, okay, there we go. Now we can keep moving. Let's get clear of the runway down here. There's no taxiway, so we will have to turn around. And there is the exciting and wonderful fun CaptainSim 737. That's pretty short hop, and it's quite a lot of fun. Alright, I'm on the left side, so I'm going to pull over onto this side here. At Nome, Alaska. You're probably wondering, well, what happened to all that ATC and good stuff? Well, this is Alaska, you know, needs ATC, right? Let's get number one up. Get us over. Some differential. Come on, buddy. Is that where I should go? I wonder.